So verklempt. Welcome to Inaudible. My name is Jeremy Weiland, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jamie Leisman. On this podcast, we discuss the weird, beautiful channeled messages found in the long tradition of contact with the Confederation of Planets in service to the one infinite creator. These messages articulate a philosophy of spiritual evolution popularly known as the Law of One. Many of these messages are available to listen to on our sister podcast, Living Love and Light, still available on all platforms. And I've just started getting back into watching it. It is an amazing podcast. I really cannot recommend it highly enough. Continuing. Jamie and I will try to provide analysis and commentary on the philosophy described in these messages, identifying the common themes and grappling with the application of this information to our human lives. However, we are not gurus or experts of any kind, so please evaluate our remarks in light of our shortcomings and use your own best judgment. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Hi, Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
You listeners, viewers, Jamie's been putting up with me being goofy because sex is on the agenda, the topic of sex, and like I just can't stop like giggling like a dumbass schoolboy. So
Making
thanks for
jokes,
being
how we cope.
thanks. Yeah, I'm coping hard. So thanks, Jamie, for putting up with me. How's the last month been? I think it's been a month, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You all
it's
right?
been pretty good. I did have like a tragedy. I was attacked by a dog, and so I'm healing from my injuries around that. So that's been kind of an upset in my life and routine. So healing's taken a long time, but I'll get there. So I've got that going on. But my husband and I are looking forward to we're going on a vacation at the end of June, so I'm pretty excited about that. We have 10 days off, so that'll be good. And there's lots of summer to look forward to, lots of gardening to do. I'm kind of obsessed with that. So that's kind of been my MO lately. I spent last week at my mom's house, kind of helping her out with some stuff, and so that's been good. Having a job where you can work remotely makes visiting family easier. So, especially if they're far away, of course. So yeah, that's a little short summary of what I've been up to.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear you're going to get some time off. Sorry, we just had a little interlude there, so I'm like trying to pick up like nothing happened.
Right.
It's our recording system gave us a warning. In any case, I am working again, so that's good. Still waiting to be paid, but like, hey, payroll takes a while. And so that's a huge relief. I'm also have worked a lot on getting a bunch of projects out. I'm working on several books right now. Most probably the one that would be done the quickest would be the book on the next 12 Richmond sessions with commentary. And then I am beta testing a webcam enabled meditation app called Orbiter. It's something we're doing through socialmemorycomplex.earth. And I'm really excited about it. It's been cool to work with AI to build apps lately. And yeah, it's like it can lead you down some really blind alleys, but blind corners, dark alleys. I always get those mixed up. But yeah, lame. So there's that. I put a lot of the updates in our Substack working notes. That's at oswg.substack.com. So you can catch up on that there. Other than that, playing music, doing a lot of writing, really enjoying continuing my reread of the LL Research 70s archive and the blog that I'm writing on each excerpt and kind of doing a little bit of analysis or commentary on it. I just cannot believe how many precursors to Ra's concepts there are in the conscious material. I don't think it gets nearly enough attention, and it makes It serves the function of making contact with Ra and the concepts they articulate seem more sui generis and original than they actually are. If people understand that these concepts were worked through prior to Ra, then they have like almost like other angles by which to understand what Ra is saying. Especially given that, you know, on some of these topics, uh, the communication is not the clearest. Like, or things are so abstract and precise that they evade one's ease of application to their own life. So I'm thinking of one of the books I'm thinking of writing is something about these early Confederation channelings and how they led to Ra. But I don't want to talk too much about that because then I won't do it. Uh, and I
These
think
are
I'll just leave it
conscious.
there.
Those are conscious channeling sessions prior to the raw contact.
Yep.
Okay.
Hatan, Latui, Oxal, Brother Philip, Latos. I mean, the whole gang's there. Um, what else did I want? And I like some interesting one-offs like Kasara and Orkan. Like just there's really interesting stuff. And if you read the blog at socialmemorycomplex.earth/blog, the name of my blog is The Life Instrumental. And so you can go. I have probably at least 100 of these excerpts all ready to go for you. And you can just, I set the stage and then try to give you as little reading as you need to get the idea. But because otherwise, just read the transcript, right? Like you don't need me. So I'm just trying to like make sense of this so you can get a nice bite on a daily basis. But even if you don't read it, I am enjoying writing it and pondering and thinking about this stuff and organizing it into notes for a future project so much. So that's what's going on with me. And yeah, you want to jump into our topic and
Let's do it.
do you want to get this over with? I mean, it's just we are. I won't speak for Jamie. I'm not entirely comfortable when we talk about mated relationships. When it gets more towards the sexual stuff, not because I don't like to talk about sex, but just because it's just not where my like I'm not like one of these like sex nerd, sex therapist kind of people who like wants to make it all intellectual and like, oh, look at the eroticism here. It's like, dude, no, like, and the funny thing is that like I felt like Carla was always very open about talking about this stuff, and it always made me uncomfortable when she did too, even though it was part of her innocence and her like lack of trying to put on airs for her to just let it all hang out and just be open about this stuff. I really appreciated that about her. That's not saying that like it was something I wanted to participate in terms of these conversations. Just set the stage a little bit.
Right. Let's make it awkward.
So we are going to we're going to do a lot of reading. So that way, Kuo and other people who don't blush can do the talking on this podcast. And I can just point at them and giggle. So we are talking about, as our anchor for this podcast, the March 25th, 2007 Kuo session. It has to do, the question had to do with the physical construction of the male and the female. In sexual intercourse, there's a bias towards the male having an orgasm and the female not having an orgasm. Is there a medical physical reason for this? But they go way beyond that. So I'm going to jump in where they start talking about the topic at hand. So Kuo says, free will is very much the lifeblood of the human experience, shall we say. In perfect free will, you have placed yourselves in an incarnation which is a heavier kind of illusion than that illusion in which entities who are part of the creator of the Father generally dwell. It is more difficult to know the truth because the truth is carefully hidden by the veil between the conscious and the subconscious mind. You do not remember why you came or how to complete the lifetime that you hoped to complete before you took birth. You are in the position of having complete free will, and yet finding that that means that you are responsible also for defining the game that you are going to play with your life, its rules, and its rewards. Coming into heavy chemical bodies that reproduce by means of sexual relations, sexual congress, or sexual intercourse, these three terms being used interchangeably, you have come into a world of intense emotions, desires, expectations, and fears. The tendency of people with free will who do not have the desire to create families is to avoid the experiences of sexual intercourse with partners who do indeed wish to become mated and to raise a family. Through your early history upon this sphere, there was a very clear cut and definitive rule. If you had sexual relations, you were prone to have a child as a result of that sexual congress. If you wished not to have children, you did not have sexual congress. The technology which your science has given you has created ways in which the function of bearing children is avoided during sexual congress by means of birth control. This creates a different situation in terms of energy expenditure. In the first instance, when there was no birth control, if you wished to treat a woman well and you were a gentleman, defined by the culture of the times, you wooed the woman, married the woman, and created a family with that woman. It was, in fact, in many early cultures, part of the measure of a man that he could maintain a happy family. Similarly, in those early times, the defined position of a female in society was that of a mate, who was to be the helpmate of the male energy, the husband, the provider, the go getter. The archetypal organization of male and female was kept fairly close to the archetype in conscious living, by virtue of the male going forth and hunting and gathering and bringing home what was needed, while the female energy of nurturing and inspiration kept a happy home, raised children, and created the atmosphere which produces a happy mind, happy body, and a happy spirit. I just want to point out the archetypal point here. It is kind of endemic in our culture right now when people talk about the male and female to talk in terms of like what the proper roles to play are. And this is kind of like a regression from like where we had gotten progressively in society, where you could embrace the cultural or the socially understood function of your sex, but you also had complete freedom to pursue or not pursue that in any way you wanted. And this meant that women coming into the workplace was okay. And maybe there wasn't so much pressure on men to, constantly be in fight mode, right? Or in all the pressure being on the man to make everything about the family work economically. And also to give him space so that he wasn't just focused on being manly and the breadwinner, but could also stay at home and take care of kids. Minister to them in a more nurturing way than maybe the male pattern dictated in the past.
Yeah, it's really hard to really kind of judge that progress, because yes, it's talked about like women can be the breadwinner, the man can stay home with the kids, but there still seems to be so much artifact of previous cultural expectations on gender roles that and then it's just conflagrated or blown up with social media and everything. So it seems like it's kind of hard to change. I think that low key we have made a lot of progress in expanding these roles, but there's still a pretty strong pull towards some of these traditional gender roles, and then just almost just like the pendulum shift. Well, there's a pendulum of progress and women's liberation and changing of gender roles, and then the pendulum swings back as people don't want, like that's perceived as a threat to conservative values and so on.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We just live in an age where like there's so many channels by which like, oh, this is what's happening in culture right now. This is what's really happening. But is
Yeah.
it really? It's just
Yeah.
it's just so hard. Like everyone wants to tell you something and have some salacious, story about this and that. But it is interesting. I think about like the archetypal organization mentioned here in this excerpt is that is it's an interesting way to go about it because it makes sense. I mean, with the what are we talking about? The priestess and the priest kind of role here, or
Oh, the energy
what are the
dynamics of the archetypes.
yeah, what are
in
the
archetypal mind.
archetypical dynamics here? We have like the emperor. I'm thinking of in tarot terms now.
Yeah, yeah. We have matrix and potentiator are the
Matrix and potential.
classic.
That's it. Okay, right.
But there's also in both mind and body catalyst
Mm-hmm.
and experience, and then you can probably find roles expressed in certain other cards.
Yeah. And well, basically the one who does the reaching and the one who awaits the reaching. And I suppose it's oversimplified, but
Well, but see, this is what people like Jordan Peterson get wrong. They see the male archetype, the female archetype, and they say, well, you can't say boo about this. Like, this is something that's in our psyche, it's in our history, it's in our culture. You have to conform to it. You have to conform to the male archetype if you're male embodied, or you have to conform to the female archetype if you're female bodied. And that doesn't, of course, mean the male and female archetype on this highly refined level that the archetypal mind is talking about, right? It's talking about something very socially and culturally and politically inflected. And they want to sneak it, and they want to sneak philosophy in. But the bottom line is that you have male in you, I have female in me. The wonderful thing about the archetypes is that they distill and kind of concentrate these energetic dynamics to the point where we can like reason about them and apply them and see how they imperfectly and impurely find themselves in our lives and in our experiences. But it is a complete misunderstanding of archetypes to expect any instantiation to reflect the purity and the precision of the originating like idea.
Right.
Ideas can be pure. They don't have to deal with like issues of harassment at work, or like, whether they want to have a kid or not, or, whether any parts of their body are the way that they want them to be, right? Like they are just what they are. And like we are the ones who apprehend and have to respond to these energies. And we do it in a number of different ways. We build biases in a number of different ways. But what we don't do ever is go all the way to one archetype and completely eschew its opposite. That wouldn't make sense about the way that archetypes as distillations of a more general concept, right? Mm-hmm. Like the archetypal mind is 22 concept complexes, but that doesn't mean that there's only 22 facets to people.
Right.
Good Lord, no. Like this is why it's really important that people ground all of this in their own lived personal experience and their own meditative inquiry into their minds, their thoughts, the way that the psyche discloses itself to the seeker. Because then
it's all within, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to read a book about...
Yeah, it's hard to do that in the modern world,
It is.
To truly look within. Like everyone's got something to sell you. Everyone's got like a hot and flashy new opinion and whatever. And it's tough, but all the answers are truly within. It's pretty wild.
It doesn't mean it's perfect. No, I mean, It doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean that people don't make mistakes. They do. I'm still paying a lot of attention to this Bentinho Massaro podcast, where they're just, I think they're going into a little bit too much detail about certain things that it just makes it hard to follow. Because imagine if we did a documentary on a massacre, right? And we spent 20 hours on the massacre by going over each corpse and looking in detail at each wound. Like sometimes that's what the podcast feels like, because they're spending hours talking about the text messages that they got from him. Like that's really my complaint, is that like it just at a certain time it's like you're just making content, you're not really
Obsessed with this
moving
personality.
yeah. And it's like, I know you need to talk about this, victims, but do you
Mm-hmm.
need Mark Vicente to make monetized content off of all of it? Maybe not, you know? Anyway, it's just my frustration because it feels exploitative. It feels exploitative. And that
Yeah.
bugs me.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's really none of my business. Like, I just feel compelled to watch it because I feel like this is happening in the larger scene of which I'm a part. I need to be aware of it.
Of
And,
course.
but it drives me up the wall. It drives
Yeah.
me up the wall. I will say that there was one really good thing that I took away from that podcast, but it wasn't what any of the guests or hosts was saying. It was somebody in the comments talking about an organization called the Association for Spiritual Integrity, which I looked into and I joined. It has an
Oh.
honor code for how somebody who puts themselves in a position of mentoring or counseling or leadership, uh, like rules, principles of how to conduct yourself and what crosses the
Respecting
boundary.
free will,
Absolutely. And like making this
for example.
clear. They have guidelines for like teachers and counselors and stuff like that. They have guidelines for students. If there is a conflict, they offer mediation services. If
Oh, wow.
somebody complains about you, they take over an investigation and bring you in, and like they require you to be frank and honest about it. Like, this is the kind of stuff that actually heals us, not in terms of like specific victims and specific offenders, but as a community, as a whole. That's what I'm interested in. Because at a certain point, I
Instead
get
of
that.
this like true crime fright fest. Uh,
Yes.
sure.
And like, I wish them the best healing, but like at a certain point, I've made up my mind. Like, you convinced me. Like, I think he's a bum. Like, I think he's a bad guy. Like, I don't need any more convincing. Like, another text
Right.
message isn't going to do that. And like, I said in the comments at one point, like, who does all of this like copious reading of all these text messages and endless discussion, who does it serve? And everybody's like, well, look at all the people commenting. I mean, it serves them. It's like, you're putting like, that's making
Your-
serve do a lot of work. It's
Your
entertaining them.
concept
It's
of service is
yeah.
probably very different than
It's entertaining
commenting.
them.
Of course, yeah, it is entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like we're moving. But that's the thing. It's like, who in this whole conversation has an interest in the law of one? They got one
Right.
guy to talk about the law of one on the podcast, and it was Aaron Abke. And
Okay.
the guy who was selling 4-figure tickets to his fourth density university to figure out, so he could tell you how to ascend the fourth density. Like, I'm sure he's opened a lot of people to the law of one. I know David Wilcock had a lot of crazy things that he started going on about that I
Right.
wouldn't subscribe to, even though I credit him with introducing me. But at the same time, it's like, is it all about celebrity to Mark Vicente? Is it only about people who are well coiffed and who have nice like intro graphics to their podcasts and this entire produced product that they go out and sell? Or
Oh,
is
I
there
think-
something deeper here that's worth standing up for? Because I think there is, and that's what I care about. And that's precisely why I don't want to see people victimized.
Well, I think there's value in, exposing a predator, or you know what I mean, or like exposing a cult or whatever. But like, it doesn't have to be so. I don't.
Exploitative.
Yeah.
It's exploitative, in my view. Mark Vicente, I think you're being exploitative. I'm sorry. I know you mean well, but you are a former victim and you're not necessarily in the role. You don't necessarily have the frame of mind in your healing of yourself to know what the wider community needs. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm not trying to settle scores
Okay, yeah.
here. I do love that he brought this to light, but at a certain point, there's been enough light. And now we need to shine the light instead of back behind us at the corpses. We need to shine the light forward and make sure that we're not creating new corpses. You see what I mean?
Right.
It's, to
Right.
be overly dramatic about it. It's
Yeah, or just like focusing on like that commenter who talked about the spiritual account, whatever
yeah,
that was. Like focusing on like accountability, like cuz that's really what people need. I mean, sure, you can shine the light on the dark places, expose the perpetrators, blah blah blah, but then there needs to be like, okay, so like how do we prevent this from happening again? Or like how, instead of just more like victim stories, which are not, they're not irrelevant, but it's
no,
just like, how do we move forward, and what is the, I don't know. Yeah.
the victim stories are relevant, but at a certain point, we have to go beyond personal stories and talk about a systemic problem.
Right.
And to ascertain a systemic problem, we have to get out of this victim perpetrator mindset and talk about the ways that all of us contribute to this. The ways that like Mark contributes to this, the ways that like even the victims, their behaviors contributed not to their victimization, but to a wider system in which this stuff happens. And to be able to talk about this as equals and as people rather than, I mean, the other thing that's weird is that like these people are jumping in, are doing this interview with Mark, and then they're jumping into the comments. Like I've never seen anything like this before.
Oh, like the interviewees themselves, the victims
Yeah,
themselves are in
like
the
if they don't,
comments?
if they don't like what I say, they start like coming at me. Like it's weird. Like I'm talking about a YouTube. You're talking about your life. Do you understand how like there's no common ground here for us to really have a communication unless we go way beyond textual comments? Like, and it just seems so haphazard and careless at that point. What's going on here?
Interesting.
I may cut all this out because this really isn't germane to what we're talking about.
I know,
But,
we kind of went on a
and you can
tangent
tell I
here.
have a chip on my shoulder. I do have a chip on my shoulder because, like, I care about the law of one. Mark doesn't care at all. Like, as far as he's concerned, it seems like all of the spirituality in the world could vanish tomorrow, and he'd think there'd be no problem. And if anything, it'd probably be a plus for humanity. That's what it seems like because he's not part of the community. So he doesn't have an interest in healing on that level.
With the vow, it culminated with the arrest and of Keith Raniere, right? Like that had like, this is what happened. The victims got their justice. They had the, but this is still like, you know what I mean? I don't know. There was like, that had a nice kind of, or I don't know if it's nice, but like a result, like someone was held to account for the crimes.
The story had a conclusion.
Had a conclusion, yes. This one's still happening.
It's I mean,
so yeah, like what's the point? Are like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
The point, I think.
Here we go. we're waist deep in tangent now. But yeah, it's upsetting. I was even thinking about that too, just like a few days ago, just like, gosh, like, I mean, it would be a shame if people were, like introduced to the law of one through this kind of negative thing, like, oh, the law of one. And that, I mean, people are going to find the law of one however they find it, and there's no whatever, but it's just kind of a shame.
Yeah, those of us who want to seek and don't think that's just like some like setup for us to get scammed and abused, We've just got to stick together. We've got to hold each other accountable because this is what I said in my blog post about it. Like, um, Catalyst is designed to break you down and
Yeah.
make you vulnerable to the messages that the creator wants. And that means you're also vulnerable to other flawed, confused people. This is a problem that we're going to have to figure out a way to create safety, at least a certain amount of safety. And it just frustrates me that we just want to talk about how dangerous it is. I know it's dangerous. Trust me. Like, I've seen it. The question is like, do we therefore just abandon it? Or do we take responsibility as not as particular victims or even particular perpetrators, but as a community, as a nascent social memory complex, as people, fourth density beings coming into their own and being kind of like blown by all sorts of winds in the process, buffeted by all sorts of like forces and energies and like old baggage that we're all carrying. I mean, if it's not Bentino, it's going to be somebody else. And it probably will be somebody else in 5 years, right? Like,
Yeah, we are late stage, third density here.
well, yeah. I
But
and
you did just bring something out. If I could circle back to mated relationships, like
yes,
you
please do.
said that you just said that Catalyst is designed to break us down. Catalyst is designed to have us suffer and struggle. And there was, I don't remember which excerpt it was, but like in talking about going into a mated relationship, we often begin with like, oh, I'm attracted to this person physically. I this person's mysterious to me. They're exciting. I'm in love with this person. But one of the things that we don't often is like, am I gonna be able to suffer with this person? And am I gonna be able to grieve with this person? Am I gonna be able to be vulnerable or weak with this person? And are they gonna be with me in the difficult times? I mean, there's of course the marriage vows, sickness and in health and all that, but I don't think people really think about that as much. I mean, of course, there's the mated relationship where you want to have children and a family. I mean, I think that that's not something that I'm engaged with personally, so I can't speak to it a lot. But like, I think there's a bit more consideration about like if you're planning to have a family together, like we better be ready to, go through the shit a bit, or like really struggle and like. But that's something that Kuo or whoever said that like that is something that should be considered as you go into a mated relationship. Like how, I mean, it's all fun and games until a tragedy happens, and then that that's like dealing with a person, a mate. It can be very different when things aren't easy, or things you're poor, or like you're or you've had a tragedy, your house burns down, or someone gets a terminal illness. Like it can change.
Yeah, and we need to. I do have plans to talk about children and family in a different episode where we can
Oh
maybe
yeah,
have a seeker on who has kids
right.
and we
Yes.
can talk to them, and because you and I we just that's something we chose not to do, and
Right. Yep.
so we can't really speak to it, but we could interview on it. So actually since we're on the subject of catalyst, there is a session that really delves into the catalyst in marriage. Maybe we could like jump to that real quick and read through a bit of that.
Let's do it.
All right. So this is May 16th, 2002. And Kuo says, let us start with the question concerning how to be a servant of light within a personal relationship, such as a marriage. Our model or paradigm for responding to this query is a simple assumption, but a sweeping one, and that is that all is one. That entity which is a mate is the projection of the self into the face of another self, both entities being the creator. The efficiency of this method of mirroring and projecting images upon the screens of each other's field of energy is precisely the purpose for which many entities chose to make commitments and form relationships. The catalyst indeed is the prize, not the problem of the relationship. Ooh. For it is in working with the catalyst of the self as projected onto the other self that the entity comes face to face with the refining fire of realization that this too is a part of me. This is what enables people to look at, to accept, and to come to love what this instrument has sometimes called the shadow side, the darker side of self. That side which knows the good, but enjoys that which is of the darkness. It is not possible to remove the shadow from the self, for each contains the seeds of all things. Each is truly the holder of the universe within the self. And if the self is all things, then it also is in part a shadow self, a darker, richer hued, and more difficult to comprehend part of the self. It is easy for this vision and view of the self to generate fear. And as the one known as T2 was saying earlier, in whatever guise this fear is, it is there that the catalyst will be rich upon the ground and ripe for the plucking. So we would suggest that in a relationship, it is perhaps not a skillful goal to wish not to perform the function of acting as catalyst for another. You're laughing for the same reason I am, right?
Yes.
Like the idea that we have a choice on that.
Right. Yeah. Skillful, indeed. Okay.
Yeah, Quo, so relatable, Quo, so relatable. So we would suggest that in a relationship, it is not a skillful goal to wish not to perform the function of acting as catalyst for another, for this would suggest that catalyst is an unfortunate thing. And indeed, we would suggest that that which is truly unfortunate is that which never changes, for it is not a part of the experience of rock or air or wind or water or plant or animal to remain the same. There is a flow to the destiny of each entity that is as close as breathing, too close to reach for it is already part of the environment, the ambient atmosphere of the self. It can be sensed, although usually within the conscious daily round of activities, it cannot be seen, heard, or touched. There is, as the one known as T1 said, that quickening of the self which gives the intuitive, conscious mind a small affirmation that energy is moving, that magic is near, and that there is guidance and power in the very atmosphere about one. And truly, these are what the one known as T1 called soul moments. And yet we would suggest that each moment is, to the one whose senses are fully unguarded and undefended, a soul moment. Each instant is a now that is infinite, and the possibilities of each present moment of now are stupendous. How much farther should I go here? We would suggest that in the outworking of dynamics between two entities, there is a fine and movable line betwixt viewing catalyst as difficult and viewing catalyst as a rich and welcomed opportunity. That fine line has to do with safety and trust. Okay. And the question then becomes, so this is just like what you were saying, that you were trying to find partners with whom you can open up so that you can do this work, so that those fights and those hurts can redound to your spiritual well-being in the long run, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that fine line has to do with safety and trust, and the question then becomes within relationships, how does one become a place of emotional safety for another entity so that even within a disagreement, even within the tangles of personality and circumstance, there is a feeling of trust that enables each to feel comfortable in misbehaving and apologizing and discussing with utter honesty those things which lack between the two. All right, one more paragraph.
Okay.
The grid of life can easily be seen to be a thing that is unfortunate, and we would offer the image of the pearl, which is the result of the irritation of the sand within the shell of the shellfish known as the oyster. Without the refining fire, without that distillation of spiritual maturity that such seeming difficulties offer, that pearl, which is each of you, should never properly be polished into its complete and perfect beauty. We do not suggest that there is an easy way to do spiritual work, either by the self or within relationships. It is not even easy to deal with the self or with relationships following the rules of the physical world and what this instrument would call consensus reality. The advantage of dealing with such issues as a spiritual entity is that advantage which sees a wider and more fundamentally powerful point of view, a point of view which offers a more sturdy resource than the shifting values of your third density world. Okay, I think this hit the nail on the head of what I felt like you were trying to get to, because it's like choose your bully.
Yeah, wisely.
And like, but the point is like, oh God, this is not the point. I don't want to say that bullying makes people stronger and that's why it's good. But at the same time, the conflict, the misunderstanding and miscommunication cause frustration and pain and injury,
Right.
that the relationship, if it is minimally functional, has as its task the search for the healing.
Right.
And that search can take, the great thing about a lifetime mating is that that relationship will transform so much.
Yeah. I stand as a transformed woman myself through various stages of my relationship. I'm sure, Jeremy, you can say the same. Like, even like, I remember just kind of being like, because the trust being so key and so fundamental to a healthy relationship and working through all this stuff, like just feeling like, well, I'm loved and I can try out some weird shit. I can express my like weird not well, yeah, weird or like things I might be really embarrassed to express. I can do that with my trusted my husband, because he loves me. And that's such a cool and special and rare thing. And it's just having that like widened parameter where I can try out new expressions, or like I don't have to live in fear of being judged on my worth because I know that I'm loved. I mean, what an awesome thing.
Like, I want to kind of like even take that a little bit further.
Go on.
Like, if I'm honest with myself, it's not the case that Tasha doesn't judge me and I don't judge her.
Well, right. I mean,
I'm not trying to undermine what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is that it's safe to do that judging and to do the repair that has to follow, because there's enough time. There's enough time, and you stay with each other long enough to let the sting of the original injuries like dissipate a little bit.
Right.
You can see more clearly. There was like some there's that Subway Takes thing
yeah
on TikTok or whatever, and like one of the ladies was saying like her take was like before you get married you should have to live a month with your partner's parents.
Okay.
So you can see why they are the way they are, right?
Okay.
Like see why they
Wow.
are. Like they don't just do these things to like annoy you. Like their reactions, they're either becoming their parents or becoming a reaction to their parents.
Sure. Okay.
So the idea is that the mated relationship is a place where you can kind of like figure out I almost wanted to say figure out how to make your your parents' relationship work, and that's not the case. But but like in a way it's like you are the sum of the distortions and biases and dreams and beautiful parts of each of your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so you in a way are kind of like working out through the choice of your incarnation, the programming. I guess the choice of parents is the programming, right? Like, so like you can say, oh, you get it from your parents. You can say, oh, you chose your parents and therefore you gave it to yourself. It's a difference without a distinction, I think. or a distinction
Yeah.
without a difference. So, which is also a distinction without a difference, those two formulations. So, oh God, I'm goofy. So, I just think with acquaintances, even with friends, it is so easy for the relationship to sour and for you to walk away.
Oh my gosh. I just want to interject here because I just had like, I just read something about like how they were talking. Someone was talking about like, oh, kindness to strangers. Everyone talks how kindness to strangers is such a virtue, right? Like, and the guy was saying like, well, kindness to strangers is easy. They don't know you. You walk away. There's nothing. There's no history. There's nothing. The real test is kindness in the home. And I was just like, whoa.
That's
That
deep.
is so true. Like someone who knows you and knows all your and all your history, like, and to be kind to that person, it can be even just like in the tone of your voice and how you talk and assume certain things or whatever, judge your partner. I mean, all that stuff I said earlier about trust. I mean, yes, I do have that as a whole, but it doesn't mean I'm not like snippy or judgmental or yeah, I'm not I'm not infallible to those things, but like it really got me thinking. And I had spent last week with my mom, and I saw my dad and his, my, how he interacts with his wife, and it's not. I don't know. I think he could do better. He's not very kind to her, and I was just really thinking about that kindness in the home, and it really kind of impacted me. So it really resonated with me as like the true test, the true if you are truly pursuing the path of practicing unconditional love, which seems to be my purpose in life for as much as I can do it, not easy, but like that seems to be life's purpose, is to learn how to give and receive love unconditionally. But kindness in the home, it's a tough one.
The funny thing about like what I was thinking when you were talking about how easy it is to be kind to a stranger is that stranger has such an ephemeral position
Yeah,
in your
completely.
life. When you are kind and you have that like cool exchange with someone you'll never see again, they'll never
Mm-hmm.
change. They'll never disappoint you. They'll
Yeah.
never ever let you down.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what we have to
Exactly.
do is figure out how to build relationships which are, when they are working, designed to weather disappointment, letdowns, mistakes, betrayals, like all sorts of stuff that happens between people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, catalysts can only be worked on for the self by the self. So it's not like the relationship does the work on the catalyst. You still have to do that work. It's all on you. It's just a way of saying, well, this is why you appreciate the partner, not because they never hurt you, but in
Right.
spite of the fact they hurt you, because you have the idea of repair, you have the idea of being able to accept yourself more, and therefore through that accepting the other person more. And this is where the real richness of a relationship starts to grow in ways that, like, when you're first dating, when you're a kid, even like you have no understanding of that. It's
Right.
it, it's taken decades for me to realize the value of my marriage, because
Yeah.
I just got married because I thought I was supposed to, and I'd been with Tasha for 7 years, and then we went through a lot of stuff, and then I just one day I just was like, I love this person, and it doesn't take away anything that I did to hurt her or she did to hurt me. Like, I still love her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, uh, we had an exchange last night where like she just kept like poking at me, and I was just like trying to be good humored about it, trying to be good humored about it, and then I just like, sorry, like it just feels like you really want to come at me, and I'm just going to like walk away. And like, and she came back and said, I'm so sorry. It's like, I know you need to say I'm sorry, but I just need to get myself back so that I can be there for this repair. And we are going to repair it. And we did.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but uh, it's the kind of thing where like the old me would have been like, screw this person. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Oh, right.
Because, yeah,
That impulse is still
you've talked
there.
about that before.
Yeah. Oh man. So just fine, fine. So
Well, like,
it's that
my
whole
thing is,
thing, like,
I don't want
fine,
to
I'll
leave the
just fucking
house.
go. You know, like
There's a difference
but I
between
just
needing
want
some
to
time to yourself and wanting
yeah.
to end things.
Well,
And
it's
like,
just more like it's almost like a primal impulse of defiance. Just like fine.
well, but
For
it's
me,
also
it
a
feels like
primal,
sometimes.
but it's also defiant to insist on talking to your partner, but past the point where it's useful or past the part where they want to. There's
It
nothing
is.
wrong with taking
It
a step
is.
back. And like,
Right.
that's what I was
Right.
trying to tell her. It's like, I'm just taking a step back, like, so I can come back and repair, you know? And we did. And it makes me feel so warm towards her to know that we can go through that and come out the other end.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't think, I think if I'd had the kind of conflict with Tasha that I've had with, that if that kind of conflict had been had with people who I consider even friends, I'm not sure it would have lasted.
Right.
Sometimes I'm wondering how we lasted, but we did.
Yeah.
And thank God, because I'm
Right.
so much better a person because of her and her influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
And showing me like she wants to, what is it? We're all just kind of like working through our childhoods in adulthood. And
Yeah.
more and more I see her as like how much she has overcome what she had to go through. And probably a lot more than I have. A lot more than I have. And I'm just so proud of her and thrilled that I get to be with her. And who knows what the future has, but like I'm really looking forward to it. And like we've had a rough time just because she's had to carry the burden of the finances, and she is
Yeah.
not in a position to do that easily.
Yeah. That is very trying on a relationship.
Yeah, very trying. And not in a way where like she was like saying, "Oh, you need to find a job. You're the problem." It was more just like she's working her butt off,
Yeah.
and
She's working her butt off.
I'm like trying to help as much as possible, but like, we're like I can tell that when we get through this, like we're going to be able to reflect and say, okay, how are we going to structure things going forward so that maybe this isn't as much of a danger and that it isn't so hard to deal with. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm blabbering now.
Sure.
Maybe this would be a good time to talk about the darker side of relationships. All right, so there is this Latouille session on abuse in relationships. And then I think we'll talk about divorce. So this is June 21st, 1989. Perhaps we should say before we say anything else that it is time once and for all to banish any idea of inequality of any souls whatsoever. You cannot find a degraded, drunken person sleeping in his own vomit, for that person has consciousness and holds Christ within. That's a weird construction.
It is, right?
You can totally find people who
It's kind of
pass out.
Carla-esque.
Yeah, you can find people who pass out. She's saying that everybody has Christ within them,
Right.
but it was a weird construction. Okay, I'm glad we agree on that. No more can you misjudge those near and dear to you. Their behavior may be appalling, but you are still dealing with the Christ in a person. Consensus reality within your illusion and your particular culture at this time suggests and indeed encourages the option of separation when one person has been traumatized by another. This is actually a perfectly good solution. There's only one problem. If the termination of the relationship occurs before a full understanding of the dynamics of that relationship have been reached, then that situation will come up again and in a more intensified way so that you may learn the lesson you have set for yourself to learn. Therefore, in all but the most drastic cases, it is well to work with that which challenges the seeker at the present moment, rather than seeking to change the circumstances so that the entity may feel more at peace. You are all divine individuals. This is the key to thinking about yourself. You view yourself in failure after failure, in disappointment after disappointment. But you do not see that free will within you has distorted that creator self into ways that were inappropriate. And it is from those failures that you have learned much. And it is from further failure that you will learn more. Consequently, though it seems paradoxical, if you suffer from being misunderstood or from not understanding the motives of one who seems to be abusing you, that is perfectly satisfactory. It is only necessary to continue to keep the heart chakra open and to refrain from judgment on any level. Now, with that said, we would address the question of free will. The questioner posed a situation in which one mate has completely taken over the life, the thinking, and the mentality of the spouse, and the spouse has become a kind of slave. Okay, this is pretty relevant to what we've talked about in this podcast. The law of free will moves against this organization of illusion with the utmost compassion and force. The ways of natural law always tend toward the balancing of such situation. However, this balancing may take many, many years. Therefore, we may say very simply, it is extremely unwise to let anyone do one's thinking for one. It is unwise to allow another entity to belittle you and believe it. All insults should be shed as if there were a raincoat around your heart, so that they may be considered and analyzed with no hard feelings by yourself. And if the criticisms have merit, then you may use them. For the most part, those who criticize others are those who are truly criticizing themselves. That's definitely true. Like, even in the critiques I'm making of the podcast, like, there's part of it that's saying, like, that I don't like that I have to promote my own podcast. I don't like that I have to be in a leadership role with a group. You know, like, a lot of this is like me working out my own anxieties, and I fully embrace that. It doesn't mean that what I'm saying has no value or that therefore it doesn't deserve to be shared or talked about. It may be that my hangups are something that can guide a conversation that needs to happen. But it is also the case, without any question in my mind, that these are things that need to be understood and accepted and worked with, not simply swept out of the house of one's life as if they're just pests. Pests. God, my lisp is really coming out today.
It's just so hard. Like, when you think about abuse, well, it says here it's unwise to let anyone do anyone's thinking for someone. Like, working with abuse in a effective and positive way just seems like you're playing with fire, you know? Like, someone is abusing you.
Have you ever abused someone? I have.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah, we all have.
Right. I mean, I guess I think about abuse as, like, you know,
Right.
like the scary parts, like where you should leave him or you
Yeah,
should leave
and she
her,
said,
you know, like,
but like Kuo says
just
that.
like,
They say
yeah.
they have no problem with you leaving. The problem is leaving and thinking that you have solved the problem by leaving. That's the
course.
only thing.
Right.
You have solved the problem of getting punched in the face. You have not solved the problem of seeking out and being attracted to people who punch in your face.
Right.
That's the problem. That's why therapy is usually suggested for people like this, so that they can so they can use the situation, as horrible as it is, to grow.
Right.
If that seems like I'm saying that it's okay to abuse, then who needs my approval or imprimatur to abuse somebody? Like, people are going to abuse because they want to abuse. People abuse because they have things inside themselves that they don't accept and they project.
Right.
So it's a given. What are we going to do about it? Are
Right.
we going to transform, or are we going? See, this is the place where, like, I do think some of the ideas of victim mentality come into play
They
because
do big
if
time.
because it is true that a woman is not going to be able to physically protect herself from a lot of men, but it is absolutely true that they have full control over their ability to look within and to see why they continue to select relationships like that.
Right.
To say that they deserve the catalyst, it, it's like it's Clint Eastwood. It's like what Clint Eastwood says. Like, deserves got nothing to do with it. It's not about desserts. It's
Hmm.
about growth and change and, like, this in the incredible reality of incarnation, that it creates such capacity for fear, for lack of safety, for terror, for humiliation. These are things that you don't need Ra or Latui or Kuo to tell you. We already know this.
Yeah.
All they are doing is trying to give us thoughts that will help us not waste these opportunities because they're happening to people. The Confederation isn't making them happen. Like,
Right.
uh, we are the ones making it happen. So
Yeah.
we have to be the ones to take charge.
I haven't been a victim of abuse myself, for which I am very grateful, but I've had girlfriends, of course, that have gone through it. Um, and when I was young, I had a girlfriend and we lived close to each other and we became friends and we were, college and, partying and stuff. And she she had a past where she was a victim of abuse as a child and like horrific stuff that I couldn't even wrap my head around how that could have been done to a child and that kind of stuff. And she had a boyfriend who was abusive to her, and it just did not like compute. I understand how victims of abuse can then become involved in it again, and that makes sense. But like just as like me knowing her and knowing how strong and cool and smart she was, I just like I know I had like a whole like I kind of gave her an ultimatum. I was just like, you can't. I don't understand how you can be in this relationship. Like you are perpetuating this pattern. Like if you continue to be with this guy, I don't think that we can be friends. You know, and I mean that I was young at the time and giving a friend an ultimatum, but like it worked. Like she she broke up with him and pretty much, and she ended up having kids of her own and two healthy, well-adjusted kids like that were her children weren't it and we're still very close friends today. And I think that I remember telling her like you, this is all on you now. You have to be the one that ends this cycle. And it was effective. It worked. I mean, obviously, it wasn't all because of me. Like she had to make the decision and do the work and everything. But like, what like the potential for it to cycle again? It's there. It's so strong. If you don't deal with it properly in the current relationship, it'll come back again, and it'll be even more hard to not deal with. It always, like in this excerpt, it says the organization of the illusion has you works towards balancing, tends towards balancing. So it'll happen again. It'll keep coming up.
I think you brought up something that's very interesting that I hadn't thought about,
Hmm.
which is we talk about these relationships as these cauldrons of catalyst for two people, but they don't stay there.
Right.
Those energies travel outwards and other people witness them, both the positive and the negative, right?
Yeah.
And
As my friend, like I just couldn't, hearing my friend going through these things, it hurt me. Or, I was just, it was shocking. And like, how could I even be aware of this and let it ride? Like I couldn't, ugh.
and at the same time,
That happened to extent to like when I became sober too. Like I can no longer like
so
associate with those kinds of people, or like I figured I had a hubris about it, like, oh, it's fine, I can hang out with so and so. But then I had a few times where I was just like, oh yeah, I can't be doing this anymore. So it's not just a cauldron between two people. We are we are in a baby social complex here.
yes,
And our families involved, our the friends, anyone we love or who loves
strangers are
us.
involved.
Strangers are
Jeez,
involved.
it's crazy.
Like we cannot help but you know have our we I'm stuttering.
Cultures are involved.
Yes.
Social systems are involved.
Yeah.
Law is involved. Like,
Oh my god.
this is so, and yet, it's most actionable with two people,
Yes.
right? So
Right.
it's like this interesting, like, crux of energetic transformation where there's all these supporting systems outside, acquaintances, friends, family,
Mm-hmm.
uh, social workers, cops, you can go the whole gamut. But at the end of the day, it's between these two people. And that's what's like so, like, I've done the thing too where like I can't be friends with you anymore if you continue to put yourself in this situation. And then I have to
Yeah.
ask myself, well, am I doing this for my own convenience, that I don't want to deal with this anymore, that I don't want to witness this anymore?
Well,
Or is
yeah,
it actually, yeah, right?
I
Like,
question that big time, and
absolutely.
even for years afterwards. Just, I mean, maybe it was like a kind of a selfish move, but maybe it was also something that the catalyst that needed to happen. I guess
Well, it was like,
I don't know.
I think one way you could think about it is that your capacity to serve in the way that is desired in all situations is not endless.
Yeah.
And so there's always a balance to be done. When does service become martyrdom? When do I stop being somebody that this person can turn to and become somebody who the person is leaning on to stay in a bad situation?
Yeah.
It is not
That's
straightforward.
yeah. That's a very tangled web.
And so the only thing that I can say, other than like, if there's violence, like, get third parties involved who are professional mirrors, like
Yeah.
counselors, therapists, right? Or, if you need to, like, get the cops involved. But if it's not that extreme, take it into meditation.
Right.
The best thing because this is catalyst for you too. So I was just reading something today that was like about in fact, I just posted today on the blog about the relationship between meditation and service.
Mm.
Meditation grounds us in the closest thing to reality that we can apprehend, such that what needs to be done is not something that we have to take responsibility for. It becomes something that flows through us. We take responsibility for putting ourselves in a situation where we are balancing our distortions, realizing our biases, and letting this love and light that does not arise from us shine through us. If it arose from us, it would never be adequate for the horrors and the suffering that are out there. It is only when we can tap into our deeper nature, the nature at which you and I are the same person. That is the level of repair that can be brought to bear on these things. And it doesn't mean that it will work. It just means that that's the scope of what's possible in a given situation by a given flawed person in provisioning help and love and care to given flawed people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what more can be said? Like, I'm sure psychologically you could say a lot more stuff, but
Sure. Yeah.
but I'm not here to psychologize. The psyche is just one experience, and there's a lot more to it in our philosophy than just that. So we have the advantage because like I remember like I've talked to therapists before, and like I was lucky enough to find a therapist who I could talk about the law of one with, and they would take it
Oh,
seriously and
interesting.
not just try to tell me how, you know, I should just, I'm in a high control group and I should get out of that, or like,
Right.
don't you see how your suffering is caused by your thinking in this way? No, she like brought her spirituality in. And that's what I like. It really, I think it's really cool. It's even, I can see this with atheists too, because some of those spiritual people I know are atheists, but it's the temperament and the attitude that you're bringing to bear with this stuff. And when you're
Right.
connected to your true self in some minimal way, and others are connected to their true selves in some minimal way, then you find that these different lenses we take on the soul and the spirit and the mystery start to become very compatible. And the words and the ideas don't stand in the way nearly as much as you would think they would, because you're not trying, because when you're grounded on that level that's beyond concept, beyond labels, like you don't have to convince yourself that you believe what you believe by projecting onto others and convincing them. You see?
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's like every time that I'm trying, that's why I don't like talk to people about the law of one in a persuasive mode. Because like I just realized I was persuading myself.
Right.
They don't
Yeah.
care. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've never been to therapy.
that's kind of impressive given what you've been through in
Okay.
your life. I mean that.
I'm not like bragging about it. I'm almost a little sheepish about it. But I guess I
Well,
never like, I don't know. I had such like an experience. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is 14 years sober for Perry and I.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So that's a fun little milestone we got going on
Yeah.
tomorrow. But like, I don't know, it just seemed like we going through that experience was like, feels like we figured it out or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to therapy, but I guess I just haven't run into something that I need another person to help me with. I don't know.
It's, yeah, I don't really know how to respond because
Yeah,
like,
right?
it's like, no one, if you say don't go to therapy to someone, like that's wrong. But
Right,
like
right.
if you act like, but if you say, well, I've never been to therapy, it's like, well, look at you, Miss Perfect.
I
Like,
know, right? It's a
and it's
little
not, I know
annoying.
that's not what you mean. Like,
Right.
I mean, for me, it was a lot about my relationship
Sure.
and like marriage counselors are about getting a unbiased, disinterested third party to sort of help these two people mirror.
Hmm.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like because it's such an intimate mirroring.
Right.
It's very strange to get a stranger involved in it.
I bet.
And but I think my best experience with therapy was when I Tasha told me that she wanted she was asking me to go to therapy, and so I went to therapy, and it was one of the best suggestions she ever made because I was just able to like work through these things without feeling like somebody who was interested in winning an argument was pushing back on me. It was
Sure.
instead somebody who was really trying to get me to expose the real crux of what I was feeling. And I appreciated that so much. And it's just a cherry on
That's pretty
top.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a cherry on top that she could speak spiritual language. I mean, she even went to I mean, I don't know how I found this person. She was running my horoscope and stuff like this and doing all this astrological stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like, that to me, that's not very like, it doesn't say a lot to me. I know it says a
Sure.
lot to other people. It just isn't my thing.
Hmm.
Um, but that was really cool. And I can see how also how people become close to their therapists because I felt like a lot of trust in this person. And then
Hmm.
like you run into them at the store and it's like,
Right.
oh, hi, good to see you. well, see you on Wednesday. It's just like,
Right? Like small talk. Do we small talk here?
no, you don't. Like,
No, you
actually, they're
don't.
not supposed to,
Oh, it's probably
right?
for the
If they see
best.
you at church or at the theater or something, hi, all right,
Yeah.
because then it gets into this whole thing of like what's going on in your life, like, and that's not the point. The point
Yeah.
is what's going on
Right.
in my life, not her
It's
life.
pretty. Yeah. I mean, the value of that is that you have these parameters, these boundaries upon which you work on things within a certain setting, and then best not to muddy the waters outside of that. Right.
And I just want to say again that this association for spiritual integrity, like, it's giving people who aren't licensed social workers or therapists or all that guidelines so that even though we go into places that feel unsafe, we can do it ethically and we can do it with accountability.
Nice.
Let's talk about divorce because
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I just thinking of Jamie and me, Jamie and me sitting the kid down and being like, "We have something to tell you.
Oh my God.
We're not doing the podcast anymore. It has nothing to do with you." All right. So, who the hell said this? I think this is Latos. This is an 89 late August 6th, 1989 Latos. And there's a bunch of stuff in here about communication, about justice, but I'm going to focus on this divorce line. And if I have this wrong in my notes, I'll correct it in the show notes. So Latos, I believe, says, it occurs to us that before we leave you, or we should say this instrument and this question, we can make one point which may be more telling, although we consider it to be no more central than any other, and that is this. The one who believes that by changing the situation he will change his experience is following a false belief. For those lessons which each came to learn are for each, shall we say, a list of priorities. When catalyst comes to a seeker, it is a sure thing that there is a lesson connected with the learning of the nature of love, which working through the catalyst will benefit, so that you may become richer in experience and more conscious with the consciousness of love. When a lesson is declined by moving out of a situation, the same lesson shall be presented to the student again. The lesson, however, will be made clearer, so that there is less chance of misunderstanding. Wow, it's just the same information, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Translated into the perceptive bias of your illusion, that means that the lesson will be more painful and will take longer to work out. Notice they say translated into the perceptive bias of your illusion. It doesn't mean that there's any sort of like innate meaning or desserts to that pain. It just says that like this is how the framework in which this is the platform that your app is running on. It has these qualities. Catalyst will be more extensive for the same experience. The one who walks away from a mated situation is buying time, but not changing the catalyst that he or she is bound to have one way or another. To those who have divorced or been divorced, who have left commitments or have been left, we would say that there is no what this instrument calls sin and what we would call error or mistake in moving from a situation. It certainly buys, shall we say, trouble. Yet with the wisdom of survival, you have chosen to heal so that you may throw yourself once more into your catalyst with a new zeal. So notice that like they're saying like, yeah, you're buying yourself time. You're not really dealing with the problem. And yet sometimes you need to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
It's
need to
part of the
kind of rope a
process.
dope and buy yourself time and just chill for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear that like, it is easy to look through this stuff and say, oh, these completely inhuman planets are trying to tell us to like torture ourselves by staying in abusive or tormenting or nasty relationships. And that's not the case. What they want you to do is to choose from a place of power and authority within yourself so that when the consequences of those choices precipitate into your experience, that you are prepared to learn and listen to them. I think that's a very important point because it's too easy to just say, there's a lot of people who say like Carla's Kuo or Carla's Hatan was always against divorce. And they didn't see it as a panacea for every ill. That's true. They did. They talked because Carla she was divorced with her husband, left her, and so that was, I think, very painful for her. She thought that marriage was for a lifetime, and she was very reluctant to give up on it. Yet, even in that instance, Latos is saying, if you feel like you have to leave, if you feel like you need to buy time for your catalyst, that's acceptable and it's not a sin.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have been left and you have found yourself acting in negative ways, Latos says, ways demeaning to your mate or to yourself, we urge you to take hold of your will and your powers of love, for if you have not been tested again, you shall be. You will feel betrayal and rejection somewhere and somehow. Next time, my children, offer your love back to the situation. To those of you who must leave or have left a committed relationship or marriage, do not weep for your past, but rather gird your loins, for your next impulse will give just as much catalyst as the one which gave the catalyst in the first place. This time, attempt to infuse your actions with a love that realizes compassion, with a love that realizes the reason for relationships. Forgive and forgive again. Forgive yourself. Forgive any who seem to have hurt you, remembering that you have faulty perceptions if you do not see love in every situation. You have the power to create children of your thoughts, daughters and sons of your heart by what you say and how you open your heart and hand and how open your heart and hands are. We ask you to create love. Love one another, my children. Always do what you must with no excuses and no need for recrimination. And always turn your face forward and use what you have learned. This environment, which we have called third density, is a gift. Every tear, every ache of the heart is precious.
Indeed.
See, that's a point of view that at once strikes me as progressive, empowering, and at the same time, like tender and compassionate, and recognizing that we are all wretches, we're all broken, and we're also all the creator. And these two things have to kind of exist simultaneously in a kind of paradoxical relationship. It doesn't make the pain any less painful, and it doesn't make the love any more loving than it already is. It just, can we face what our lives are about? Or are we going to run? And this stuff always catches up with you. Because it's not about what manifests in the physical. That's a symbol for something deeper. Yeah. Now, when you're getting punched in the face, you got to get out. But like, there's a deeper significance to it that you don't need to be punched in the face to face. Right. It's just that, what Ross says about the 2x4 applied to the forehead.
Yes.
I love the idea of Raw as like a WWE superstar, off the top rope, getting out the chair.
Right.
But it's just, this is why a lot of what I've been thinking about lately is the sense in which if you're going to live this philosophy, there's a lot of responsibility that you have to take, but you also have to realize that the conscious self is so limited that there's only so much you can expect of it. And that if you're not, that your salvation lies not necessarily in like intellectually, consciously making better choices. It's connecting within to deeper and deeper parts of yourself. No, I really don't think it is. Like no, Ross says that the choice of polarity, once it's been recognized, it's already been made.
Right.
I think a lot of things are like that. I think that a lot of what our lives are reinforcements and not necessarily original 100%. Sui generis choices, right? So the idea
it's all about the reinforcement. Yeah, if I could interject.
Absolutely, go ahead.
I had this, because I talked about how I got sober years ago, and like I had this belief that I had wasted my life, and I was a terrible person for how I acted and how I treated people who I loved at that time. And I had reinforced that idea over many years.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to kind of reinforce the new path for myself. So that reinforcement thing is is very key. Like there was a very famous NFL football coach, and he said he had a line that I really resonated with me. It was like, he's coaching his players, and he says like, "Well, I'm not. It's not about like making that." That big, huge improvement this season. It's all about making little refinements. It's all about the little refinements. If you can just refine that, in the context, of course, of football, but you could apply that to brilliantly to spiritual evolution and to be making small refinements and taking it easy on yourself, because by golly, the universe will serve it back up to you again if you have not balanced it properly. So if you can have a little, like forgive yourself and leading with the forgiveness, like me getting through that was like me learning to forgive myself and also kind of honoring that experience as well. Like I think it was on a Bring Forth column forum years ago where I was kind of reckoning with some of these ideas and like I was just like I had said like I just feel like I've wasted my life and all these things and then someone said to me, you wouldn't be the person you are today if it wasn't for those experiences. And it was what I needed to hear at that time. It's just like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I wouldn't like
Yeah.
who knows what that Jamie would have done, like for good or ill. And like I can't carry around the shame forever. I just need to kind of own it. And it took years for me to really kind of work that out, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I wanna revisit your story about the football coach because it's interesting, not simply in the fact that he's saying it's all about these incremental improvements, but that you have like one of the things that a coach is good for is that they have the remove from the effort being applied by the
Right.
athlete so that they can actually see those improvements a lot more clearly than necessarily
Right.
the athlete can. And they can
Yeah.
guide from this position. So it's almost like your higher self is a coach who kind of
Right.
sees like your whole career, let's say, and like
Mm-hmm.
can kind of guide you from that point of view. Um, and, but you have to go into the locker room of the heart.
Yes,
You like
you
that?
do. I do.
I don't know how I do it. I just do it. Man, but yeah, that this is why I have found myself decentering the role of the conscious self in total responsibility for choices in life. It's not because the self doesn't play or the conscious self doesn't play any role. It's that the context of all of this going on is so vast that it just seems like presumptuous and solipsistic to say, I'm just this single agent who has to like figure out how to navigate the cosmos
Main
based on my
character.
puny mind. Yeah. It's like, no. Like, and they say this over and over again in the material. It's like, let love live your life. Meditate, then serve. Meditate, and then encounter catalysts. Meditate, and then go out there and try to be a better person and show love more. Like, you can do all of these things, but the best that you can do comes from getting out of the way of a deeper part of yourself, more connected to the real stuff of existence, that creator self. That self is going to be able to give you the best guidance, the best choices, the best engagement in the stuff of life. Because after all, like, these red ray issues that are around sexuality and relationships and all this stuff are primal, like survival level impulses. And it is at that level that they're just so powerful that, like, in order for us to balance, to balance from a point of view where, like, we're even coming into a realization of where we stand in our lives, of, like, kind of, all right, what do I do with all this childhood stuff and all this stuff going on in my life and, like, all this career stuff in the future that I can't possibly know. Like, I have to, like, strategize somehow. And you should, like, I'm not saying give up on life, but I'm also saying, like, just talk to your coach sometimes.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I'm really saying. I'm making it fancy because I get paid by the minute.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we're at 1:30. You wanna maybe
probably wrap it up. I
declare
will
victory?
say, if I could be a child for a moment, I think it's a shame that we did episode 69 and didn't talk that much about sex.
I was letting you
know.
go there.
Okay.
Nice.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Well, maybe
So
we'll
good.
revisit.
So funny.
We have a lot more notes, and there's certain things like, Jamie and I talked about sexual energy transfers and talking about that. You know what? Like, maybe, like, I just be honest with you. That is an area of the law of one where I just really don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot of experience.
Same. Yeah.
I have blockages like everybody else. Like, I'm not doing high white sexual magic. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I'm a lame. Jeremy has sex, but he's not, like, a god. Like, why don't y'all figure that out yourself? And I will put some stuff in the notes that will maybe help. You don't need Jeremy to read every transcript to you. You can do some reading on your own.
Yeah.
See, I just get goofy. Like, so.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, you want to leave it there?
I think we did. I think we went on some good rants. We went on some good tangents.
A lot of it might get cut out.
Yeah, and that's fair. But, like, I think we hit on a lot of things that we wanted to, and some little surprises in there. So I think it's good.
I just think the you and I are good partners on this journey because we have a lot in common, but we've also had very different experiences.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, like, so much the better. Like, I mean, I remember telling you about things that were going on in my life, and your experience was, like, really helpful to me. Like, dealing with, like, substances and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, the only way you can improve on it is by getting more seekers here, more different perspectives to talk about it. But I'm really glad that I have a female co-host because I feel like that was really underrepresented in my podcast.
See, the universe seeks balance, Jeremy.
I'm just, like, holding on.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. And I promise I will get the logistics of invitations to our podcast platform down so that we can do this more smoothly. And next time, let's get out of the mated relationship thing. Let's find something else.
Yeah,
let's
get out there.
So maybe Pluribus will be back on by then.
Oh my gosh, Pluribus. Yep.
Yeah. The only show where I'm rooting for the villain. Well, thanks again. I hope you have a great week, month, whenever we talk again. I'm really glad that we didn't wait 2 months this time.
Right.
I hope we can make a pattern of that. So thank you. And thank you, listeners. I'll put everything in the notes. I know this is really scattered, but, like, just let it wash over you and then go back and read from the sources, because what we are telling you are things that we've learned from our lives, but it's in the context of the kind of lens that this philosophy gives us that we're able to sort of, like, package it and, like, provide it in this light. We're not geniuses. We are walking the path, learning from these social memory complexes who only want to help. And don't let us be your... that's the thing about the Massaro stuff, is that it seems like everybody who got involved in this cult let him interpret the law of one for them. No, don't
Yeah,
let
the
us
whole
interpret
guru
it.
thing.
Let us inspire you to go find your own. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, like, I think there is a cop out to do your own research, but I think when it comes to something so subjective and human, we can be forgiven for that. So thank you, Jamie. Thank you, listeners. We're going to leave it here. And in the meantime, stay in the love and light.